What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Emerald Grappling Podcast. I'm your host, Darren Murphy, and today I'm in Loughrea, County Galway. I'm in Monarch BJJ Academy. Sitting across from me is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Black Belt and head coach, Rowan Lovett. Rowan, thank you so much for being on the podcast, man.
Thank you for coming, bro. It's really great to see Irish Jiu-Jitsu podcast, to be honest. It's really amazing to see our sport and game come up in the world, you know?
And Rowan, just to start things off, maybe you can tell us about yourself and how you got started in Jiu-Jitsu.
So, basically, my name's Rowan Lovett. I run Monarch Jiu-Jitsu, as you said. I have been doing Jiu-Jitsu for about 11 to 12 years now. The reason I got into Jiu-Jitsu was, it was kind of the reason I got into martial arts, you see. I almost got into a fight with someone. And halfway through, the guy, it was kind of, it was like nearly getting there. And halfway through, I thought to myself, if I get into a fight, this is going to be a literal coin flip. And this dude's bigger than me, so it's a bad coin flip for me. And, it's going to land on whatever he picked most times, And so after that, I was like, I can't accept that. I can't have my words only worth the noise they make. I can't just have words just being words. So I then the next week I joined Thai boxing. So I got into Thai boxing. I thought I could, I was about, 6 months in or so. And I was I was feeling pretty good. I was training a lot. I was feeling like I could fight now, and then, who was it? Ben Davis came into the gym, and he was starting an MMA class. And I remember doing the first class in MMA. He takes me down and pins me and I'm just moving around on the floor like a beached animal, and I'm just shit, I have to learn this jiu-jitsu stuff. This is completely unacceptable. This is worse than not knowing what to do in a fight. I literally can't move,
Yeah.
And from then on, literally in the first class, I got a triangle on someone, and from then on I've been stuck to it. Literally, I've been training probably 2 to 3 times a day most days, since then. I got really obsessed. I'm a very obsessive person, so I kind of, once I get an interest, I have that one interest for my whole life usually,
Yeah, no, and anytime I've spoke with anyone and they're saying how they got into jiu-jitsu, it's either they started off with striking or MMA.
Yeah.
It's such a common factor, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I liked the MMA. I really did. I was just about 20 years old, so I was kind of, it was a perfect age to get into fighting, you're kind of a bit aggressive. And I was getting ready for a Thai boxing match, I think. And then I had we were having a hard spar, and I think I walked into I think it was a Superman punch. I walked straight into Superman punch right on my chin, and then it was one of those punches that you get hit so hard that all the air left my lungs. I couldn't breathe. I wasn't dropped, but I was walking around and I was trying to catch my breath. And we continued sparring after that, which was probably really dumb. And I caught 2 more head kicks really bad, and then I got home and I was feeling really terrible, but obviously my head was hurt, headache and all that stuff, And then I was trying to train for about a month and a half after that. Every time my blood would start going, every time my heart would start beating, my head would start hurting. And then what I hadn't realized at that point was basically from that Superman punch, blood started leaking into the part between my brain and skull. So the subdural layer was filling with blood.
Oh, damn.
So I didn't do anything about this for about a month and a half. And then my vision went double. So I wouldn't go back to normal. I couldn't see straight. So then I went to the hospital. I didn't even go to the hospital. The funny thing about brain damage is you're the last one to know. I didn't go to the hospital. I went to the opticians. And I was like, I can't see straight. I need some glasses or something. She takes one scan of my eyeball. She just starts closing down the opticians. And she's like, oh, let's go to the hospital. And I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, no, you need to go to the hospital straight away. I can't believe you're not blind. And I went to the hospital and they found a massive bleed this side of my head. And I was kind of, from then on, I was rushed up to Beaumont Hospital. They say that amazing people in Beaumont Hospital saved me pretty well, actually. They kind of they did 2 surgeries on my brain to let the blood out, and then after that, I was recovering for about a year, and that's I was kind of coming around to the fact that in my mind I was like, I couldn't do martial arts anymore, I couldn't do athletics, I couldn't do anything like that, and then I think it was my coach Ben Davis at the time who said, you know, you don't get hit in jiu-jitsu, bro. You know? like, why don't you just do jiu-jitsu, like, you know? And that was the moment when actually, funny enough, when I was driving up in the ambulance to Beaumont, I was kind of like, it was like probably a shock response or something, but I was literally on my phone ordering a gi. Because I was like, I'm gonna have to do this now, you know.
Yeah.
like,
that's one way of getting.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know about the timing of that, but like, I was on my phone ordering a gi in the ambulance when these nurses and doctors were looking at me like, can you still see? Can you still walk? Can you feel your hands? You know, this kind of stuff. And I was just like, yeah, man. 1 second, I can just get on Fightwear store.
Quick question: do you think I'm an A1 or an A2?
Yeah. It's like, what height am I actually? but yeah. So that's why my striking martial arts career ended quite quickly, you know, very abruptly. But since then, I've just been just training jiu-jitsu since like I got back to training about in the middle of 2014-ish, and I was training kind of, it wasn't very hard training because once again I had holes in my skull, so I had to let them heal, but I was still training when I was recovering from that, like, you know, it was stupid.
People do say it's addictive, and I'm pretty certain that's one way of saying it is addictive.
Yeah, no, for sure. I like, you know, like, I think with things like that, when I get obsessed with something, like if I don't get to do that, I don't really see a point in doing anything, you know. You know, I kind of just shut off completely.
It's all in or all out, really.
Yeah, 100%.
And that was around, as you were saying, 10, 11 years ago. And
yeah, so that was 2014. I was recovering from that.
Damn.
Yeah, and then 2015 I had my first jiu-jitsu match, and it went terribly. I was against a guy, Richie Go from East Coast Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
He was slick, man. He was so good. I went in. I was a blue belt already.
Yeah.
And it was my first competition was at blue belt, and I remember I nearly got him in a footlock at first, and then he got me to spider guard, which I had no clue what it was. I was mostly an Ogi guy, so
yeah.
I was like, what the hell is this? And then he triangles me, and I'm like, oh, damn. But then I got to fight for bronze, which I won, which was very nice. You know, I won. I fought for bronze, and I got 2 points in the last like 30 seconds, and then that was my first bronze medal. Yeah,
for your first competition.
First competition, yeah.
Damn, that's impressive.
It was good. Like, it was a really nice experience, and I got to fight such an experienced guy as well that I kind of saw the level of what a blue belt can be, you know.
Yeah, set that standard.
Yeah, which was really good for me at first, you know.
Nice. And then as you were moving up through the belts, did you find obviously the level does increase every time?
Yeah. So I think it's because I kind of started becoming a lot more like athletically intelligent when I got towards purple belt. So I found it a lot easier to compete at purple belt. Not that the skills were higher, but people were using less athleticism and more technique. And that's when I kind of flourished more, because I was more like, I started out, I was like 65 kilos, you know? So I was all technique and nothing else, you know? There was no strength. So that's all I had, you know? So, So basically, where was I going with this? I do that sometimes, probably the Muay Thai.
You had the technique, so the level with purple belt was more technical.
So going up through the belts, yeah, of course. So basically, I found purple belt kind of easier than blue belt. I think that was my own skills though, and then brown belt. That was the biggest skill jump I've ever seen. That was huge. That was absolutely huge. I got submitted in my first brown belt match. Like I was doing I was doing really good at purple belt, and then like I went to brown belt, and like I think I was against. I think his name is Thomas Power. He's a black belt now under Darragh O'Connell. And he caught me. It was funny, actually. It was a match where there was heel hooks legal in the gi. Yeah. First brown belt match, heel hooks were legal in the gi, and I jump on the K-guard heel hook, and I just had it, but it just slipped, and then he jumps on my foot on the toe hold, and he caught me, and that was that basically. That was my first brown belt match, so it was a massive difference. Now, to be fair, Tom, I think his name is Tom, he got his black belt shortly after that, so he was very good for a brown belt at that point. He was very, very good. But then the other time at brown belt, you see, I've only competed a couple of times at brown belt. The last time I competed was at IBJJF Dublin Open. That was a couple of years ago now, and I came second in my division. I got a submission and one on points, and then I got caught in something like a triangle, I think. And then I was 70 kilos. I was a bit underweight for the 76 I was fighting at. Then I went to the absolute division, and I managed to catch I think he was the heavyweight winner in an armbar, and which was probably the highest point of my entire jiu-jitsu career, because all of George Santos was watching, and you could hear a pin drop when the armbar went on. Like, there was literally only one of my former opponents, Andrew Farrell, was cheering, and then everyone else was just dead silent. It was just like my wife, Andrew Farrell, and that's it, were cheering, like, and everyone else just like completely silent. Like, but that was probably the best. And then in the final of the absolute, funnily enough, I met the guy who I met in my own division, and he beat me again. Almost knee barred him, but he got me in some kind of paper cutter or something. I don't know. It was very fast, so I didn't really see, but I knew I was going unconscious anyway.
But at least you made it to the absolute final, which
which was pretty amazing, because like a lot of the guys we fought on the way up, like he beat a couple of the ultra heavy winners. I beat the heavy winner and the middleweight winner, and like, so that was pretty cool. Like, that felt pretty good, because he was on the top podium, I was on the second podium, and the guy on the third, much lower down, was taller than us still. He was still high. His head was higher than ours. Like, yeah. So it was a really good day. Like, but that was the last time I competed. Like I competed a lot at blue and purple. Well, I say a lot. Like, that's as much as I could. Like, it was like 3 to 4 times a year, averagely. Like, it was kind of like, it's not like today. Today we have tournaments every 2 weeks, man. It's absolutely sweet.
Yeah.
Then we'd have like, every now and then a tournament,
Yeah, and it's great seeing so many of them pop up, and they're spreading across the country, which is great.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah. We even have ones in Galway now. Like, that's not many, but it's as many as we had in Dublin before.
But no, and that's where I actually met you for the first time, was the Galway International Open. So shout out to Patrick and John Sheridan for running that one.
Serious tournament. Great guys.
But that's it. Like, I was there and I met so many different people, so many different gyms that I did not see or even heard of from this side of the country.
Yeah, because so few, it's such a trek up to Dublin, like, to, because you're fighting at 9 a.m. You're like, what do? You stay in Dublin for €250, or, you go up at 5 a.m. It's like there's two options. Like, it's harder. Like, what I used to do is I'd always just sleep in the gym in Dublin and then compete the next day. But like, that was easier because you don't have to get up at 5 a.m. But like, nowadays it's much better. Nowadays we have how many, like 6 or 7 big organizations of jiu-jitsu tournaments now? Grappling Industries, Grapple City, Grapple Kings,
Grapple City, then there's the sub-only events.
Sub-only events, and then IBJJF as well. Is it twice a year now?
Yeah, they do it usually around this time, and then at the end of the year.
Yeah. Now I might I'm gonna be held to this now. I might actually get back to competing for for April, hopefully, if I can be bothered.
You heard it first, folks.
Yeah, you heard it here first, and I'm going to regret saying that because my students are going to hold me to it.
And you were saying about you've competed quite a bit in the lower belts, but you recently got your black belt.
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
Oh man, that's surreal, bro. That is surreal. So, like, I went in to training, And like my coach had told me to come in, so I was thinking there was something going on, like. But then there was another couple of black belts there, so I was like, okay, this is why he told me to come in to train with these guys,
Yeah.
And I noticed the 4-stripe black belt guy who trains with him, he was going 150% against me. And like, I was like, oh, okay, I think I know what's coming here. I was getting this inkling in my head. He was like trying to kill me, like, he's like, this is probably my last round at brown belt, like, and but like you kind of think these things, but then when you get told, it's still shocking. It's still completely shocking. Like, the moment you look down and there's a freaking black belt on your waist, it's everything feels the same but different. Everything feels the same. And also people listen to you more, man. People listen to you more. I listen to myself more. I'm like, when I have a thought, I'm like, well, I probably better take it seriously. It's a black belt thought now, like,
Yeah.
And it has a funny psychological effect on anyone, like, you yourself included. Like, it's really cool. Yeah, it was really cool. He had a really cool speech as well, my coach. It's on Instagram, actually. Check it out. But he had a really cool speech because I was telling him about this student that I have that texts me at like 3 a.m. Sometimes, and he'll be like, do you remember when you had me in side control earlier? If I had got the underhook at this point here, it will send me a video with the moment. Would I have been able to come up and get the single leg? The things like this, just most nights, like, he'll text me, and I was telling Michelle about this, and Michelle just mentions, he's like, Rowan, you were telling me you have a student who's really obsessed, and he's like, he rings you at night and asks you about positions, and he goes, but Rowan, you used to sleep on the mats.
You did the same.
You used to live in the gym for a year. And like, you would ring me every night, like, asking me about that submission I caught you in. I was like, that was you, bro. That was you.
History repeats itself.
Yeah. I thought it was really cool. It hit me right in the heart. I was like, I'd completely forgotten, because basically at that point in my life, I was sleeping mostly on buses and in gyms. I was literally probably like, I was technically homeless. Like, I lived in Arena Fight in Dublin and then in Shaolin sometimes. And then I slept on buses because they were warm,
Yeah.
So like, me telling someone they're a bit obsessed is kind of funny, And from an outside perspective, I see how funny that is.
But it just shows your dedication. Like,
yeah.
You literally were living in a gym.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, I got completely obsessed, bro. Like, anything that's like an RPG game that goes on forever, I'm just like, that's for me. Endless progression. Yes, please.
Level up.
yeah, exactly. Like, it is exactly the same. That's why I always make this analogy of why I'm a good coach is because I was good at playing Pokemon games. You get your team, you teach them moves, you shout the moves at them, they do them. It's Pokemon battles, bro.
All right, yeah, very true. And most importantly, which Pokemon did you pick first?
Ooh, Blastoise. Oh, not Squirtle. That's his evolved form. Yeah.
For those who know.
For those who know, and War Turtle's in the middle.
So getting the black belt was a surreal experience.
Yeah,
and
really.
As you were saying, now you're even listening to yourself when you're talking.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. No, because I always had like a bit of the old imposter syndrome going on, So like I'd always think about when I lost rather than when I won more, and I'd always think about the problems I was having and things like that rather than the success I was having. So now, obviously, that it's a double-edged sword, really. Like, it made me train all the freaking time, It made me, like, train a lot. But it also made me find it very hard to get into competing. A lot of nerves, a lot of, like, caring too much about the result, all these kind of things. So it does that as well,
Paralysis by analysis, isn't it?
Yeah, literally, yeah. Too much thinking, just too much thinking. Now, I got over that. The way I got over that, and it's a really good system is, do you know the Wim Hof method?
Yes.
Yeah, really, really handy for adrenaline and nerves. Really good. So if you just do breathing exercises 20, 30 minutes before you fight, you have a really, really kind of level-headed approach to it, which is really nice. And I think what it does as well is it kind of warms your, as you can imagine, it warms your breathing up,
Yeah.
So you're ready to actually push yourself really hard as well,
Yeah.
So which is really cool.
Nice. And now that you're a black belt, you're training over 11, 12 years. I always hear people saying that jiu-jitsu has taught them so many lessons about life and training itself. So what has jiu-jitsu taught you?
So jiu-jitsu, before jiu-jitsu, I was, there's a famous Marcelo Garcia quote, isn't there? Before jiu-jitsu, I used to throw my dirty dishes under the bed. You know, before jiu-jitsu, I could quite literally would do that. And now I only do that some of the time. But no, I don't do that. But it is a genuinely, it gave me like not only a purpose in life, but it gave me like discipline to be able to pursue other parts of life. Because I never had any, other than college, I never had any formal education. So I never went to school. I never did a leaving cert, a junior cert, anything like this. So I'd never learned how to learn things very well. You know, I learned, like, I read a lot of books. I was a smart kid, but like, I'd never learned a system of learning, which is so important. And that's one of the biggest things jiu-jitsu gave me, was the ability to make myself be able to learn anything. You know, because I like from drilling and learning how to teach and learning how to literally input this information into your brain, it gives you that ability. You know, it gives you that ability to be able to input any information into your brain and hold it, you know?
Yeah.
You know, and before that, I had never had anything that interested me enough to get that ability.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, I think jiu-jitsu mostly has given me discipline. It's given me like, yeah, it's given me a purpose to get up in the morning, you know, something to do that I look forward to every day. And it's given me this kind of, calm under pressure that you don't get. I don't see it in people who don't do martial arts. And I see it, strikers get it too, don't get me wrong. The like strikers, grapplers of any kind of martial art seem to get this, but they have a calmness about them in social situations and in any situation really that is just, when I first saw it as a very, very anxious 20-year-old, I was like, my God, I want that. You know, I want to be able to walk around like that, you know? You know, that looks amazing, like, you know? So I think mostly it's just given me, it gave me almost an identity, bro. Like, you know, it kind of like, before that I was just, you know, playing video games, like, you know? It's like I did IT, I did college, but I never was applied myself to anything, you know? It was the first thing I ever did that felt real.
Yeah.
You know, it was the first thing that felt like, okay, this is it, like, you know?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. It's the type of thing where, like, once you start, like, you see with a lot of things, people will do it and then they'll only do it during like that dedicated, like allocated time.
Yeah.
Whereas with jiu-jitsu, even other martial arts, like, you're going home, you're watching YouTube videos, you're doing research on it, or even looking up like, all right, this person was really good at doing lapel guards.
Yeah.
How can I strip that grip so he can't get that? And you just go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you just sort of download Galval's angry DVD about how to beat Keenan. As soon as he left Atos, he released a DVD, How to Pass Worm Guard.
Damn, petty.
yeah, I thought that was hilarious.
Oh, dude, madness. But yeah, it teaches a lot of things, though.
Yeah, it really does, bro. Yeah, I couldn't I couldn't advise doing jiu-jitsu more, because like with jiu-jitsu, like, it doesn't look how it feels. It doesn't, like, if you've never done it, you don't know what it's like. You know, you have no idea. You know, like, it looks like two people are kind of tangled up on the ground when you don't know what you're looking at. When you do it, it feels like a kung fu movie on the ground. You know, it feels like once you get a move to work, you feel fantastic. You just feel like, it's just like, I remember a quote from the Meow Brothers, when will you ever stop doing jiu-jitsu? The guy asked, and they said, when we get the perfect movement.
Nice.
Because there's never a perfect movement, you know. So, you know, so it's just like, whenever we get the perfect movement, that's the aim.
It really is like a kung fu movie on the ground.
It is. It really is. Yeah. When the first time I scored a triangle choke on this GAA lad who was way bigger and more athletic than me, and I was like, he was absolutely killing me the whole round. And then like I literally just did the thing I saw Anderson Silva do on Chael Sonnen. Like that, I was literally watching that fight the day before, and I was like, why did Chael tap out? Like, what's wrong with him? Like, why did he tap out? Like, there was nothing, you know, I didn't understand. And I put the foot under the knee, I was just squeezing my legs, and the dude just taps out. His head goes purple, and I'm like, oh. And I asked my coach, and he's like, yeah, that cuts off your 2 veins, bro. Like, that's the reason he tapped out. Like, because I was like, his arm's not breaking. He's, you know, there's nothing happening. He's not got him around the neck.
Something's not right here.
Yeah, something's not right. Like, Chael's winning the whole fight. Why did he tap? You know?
Chael never loses, man.
Yeah, Chael never loses. He doesn't tap. He was just trying to slap the guy.
Do you ever watch footage back over of your own rolls, but in your head you're like, I'm moving like a ninja, and then when you're watching it, it's just like, oh my god, I looked terrible there?
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes, yeah, absolutely. So, when I watch rolls, like, there's certain parts that I'm really, really happy with, and then there's certain parts where I'm just like trying to glue 2 techniques together that just don't fit together. You know, You're just like, and luckily you're doing it on a blue belt, so it works. But, like, you know, it's just like, what was I doing? You know.
And then you try it on the higher ranks,
yeah,
and then it's totally not working.
Close. Yeah. You know, there's a big gap between the 2 techniques. Like, you can't connect them. You know,
Yeah.
Glue doesn't work.
You mentioned you've competed quite a bit at the lower belts.
Yeah,
you're going to make your debut.
a lot more at the lower belts than higher belts, anyway. Yeah,
you're going to make your debut soon in the black belt.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely will. I'm just biding my time, I guess. but no, I really do want to get back to competition. I'm just the kind of person that likes to have a training camp for competition, if you get what I mean. Like, not like overdo it or anything, but like, I mean, I like to specifically work on a game plan and with coaches and stuff. So I right now I probably get like 2 days a week where I have coaching. Yeah. You know, and then I'm just teaching for the rest of it and just rolling with my students. And then 2 days a week I'll be going against high level rounds. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create, I'm going to get enough money to hire someone, so then I can do a lot less teaching. So I'll just do teaching like once or twice a day, or once a day, 5 days a week or something. And then hopefully that will happen soon. So then I will be able to actually commit to training, because like I really need to go to like my coach's gym, maybe Shannon BJJ, maybe you know, some of the big gyms, to just train with some of their black belts, you know. Just get used to some different styles, because it's like an echo chamber if you know, out in the west of Ireland, and you've just got your students and, you know, you're practicing submissions on blue belts, but like, you know, it's not the same at all. Like, you know, it's not in any way the same. But no, I do really want to get back to competition. But it's either going to be April or the Fall Open. Yeah, it's either going to be Spring Open or Fall Open, basically.
Nice. And is competition something that comes naturally to you, or have you got like that competitive spark in you?
So yes and no. So there's parts of my personality that really suit competition. During a match, I have a bit of that, like, what would you call it? Like, kind of going for the kill. Yeah. You know, I have that meanness about me that I can kind of go for the finish very good. Yeah. And if I feel someone getting tired, I get tons of energy and I try and you know, cook them. But then I also am a chronic overthinker. So before tournaments is the time that I'd suffer the most. You know, so before tournaments, I probably would overthink about it a bit. Now, you know, at first it was to the extent where I would have trouble sleeping the night before and things like this, you know, but it's not like that anymore. But I still do overthink things, you know, I still overthink and overplan and all this, and then like as soon as I get to the tournament, I start rolling and I'm like, oh yeah, this is what I do every day. Yeah. You know, this is the only thing I do. Oh yeah. You know, it's like you have all these plans. If he goes here, I'm going to go to Delahiva. If he goes here, I'm going to do this. Oh, he went there, I'm in Delahiva. Oh, okay, yeah, sweet. You know, it's like it happened. My legs just did it, you know.
That plan went straight out the window.
Yeah, just whatever happens. Like one of my I can't remember who said it to me, but someone said a really good quote, just always do what happens. Always do what happens. It's such a stupid quote. But like what it means is, you know, you can, no matter what's going on, just try and excel at that. You know, like, so try and be so well-rounded that you can win any battle in jiu-jitsu, you know. That's where the ecological constraint-based games comes in. It's very, very good that way, because it teaches you, it isolates certain like tiny little fights in jiu-jitsu, like tiny little matches, like the let's say in side control, the ability to get a figure 4 grip on the arm, or the ability to get to mount and isolate the head and the arm with your arm. You know, that would be the objectives of a top player, and then the objectives of the bottom player would be just get your legs in between you and him. you know, and it's very simple. You can teach kids this and they'll act like they've been rolling for 6 months.
Nice.
You know, it's actually amazing. It's actually amazing, especially the athletically talented ones. They just immediately they're like, they know jiu-jitsu straight away because you just give them the objectives.
Yeah, and they just take to it. Like,
yeah, they just take to it because it's hard to teach a kid a 20-step move. But if you teach a kid 2 objectives and tell him do whatever you need to get the objectives,
they're just
he'll figure it out. Yeah, and then later on you drill more and more with them, and then they start getting the crisp, perfect techniques. But before that, they've learned how to get to those techniques.
They know what they're looking for.
Yeah, they know what they're looking for. They know how to get to them with resistance, and that's all they're doing. You know.
It makes you think, damn, what if we knew these like principles when we first started out? Like,
yeah, man, Jesus, yeah, it would have been so much faster, bro. Like, there's so many of my white belts. I'm looking at them like, damn you, man. Just like, you're so much better than me as a white belt. Like, you know, I was so much worse as a white belt.
I just want to touch back on the competition bit. We will get on to the ecological approach. Don't worry about that. But how has your approach to competition evolved over time?
So before I would have overdone things massively. So before I came from Shaolin MMA, which is an MMA based gym. So they would have had a lot of like they would have had the MMA way of doing things. So they would have been telling me to cut weight and do all these different things, and like, you know, that might work for some people. But I think with same day weigh-ins, cutting weight is just suicide.
Yeah.
Because like I would sometimes cut weight and then I'd get like to the final or semi-final and I'd have nothing left. I'd literally be like dying. So how my approach changed to competition would be mainly I try and stay in my normal routine. So I don't try and make it like this special big thing that's going to happen. I like every time I spar 100%, it's 100%. You know, there's no speed adjustment or anything like that. I'm going for the kill. Like, so, my adjustment to competition now is try not to overblow it. Like, try not to do things differently than I'd normally do when I'm walking down to the gym to roll, you know? Yeah. You know, so like, I'd have the same breakfast. I'd have the same routine. I'd have the same, everything I do on a normal training day. You know, I'd have the same warm-up. Yeah, the warm-up one is a really good one, actually. That's something I learned, and it seems really basic, really simple. But if you do the same warm-up every single time before you roll, your brain will become ready to roll. Yeah. You know, so like it can be the most basic thing where you're just shrimping up and down a mat, you know, just this basic, everyday warm-up. If you do it the exact same every time, your brain gets tricked into this mode of, okay, we're rolling hard now. You know, yeah. And it's just genius. So like that's what I do. I get people to do that at the start of open mats, you know, because in an open mat, it's usually the only time when you'd go warm up, sparring, you know, straight away. Usually it'd be like warm up. Well, we'd usually warm up with like games and then drills and then situational, then sparring. But with an open mat, you just go straight to sparring. So we'd always do I always try and get them to do the specific warm up. So it makes it becomes related to rolling hard and straight away, you know.
Nice.
Yeah. I thought that was one of the biggest things I learned in competition. I know it sounds like an obvious one. Oh, warm up. Whoa, crazy, right? The first guy to ever say it, like every coach in history. But it's like mind blowing. But like, if you do keep the warm up specifically the same, though, that's the main one. Like, keep it the same. Then I find that kind of sets my brain into motion. The other one, as I said, breathing exercises is a really good one for nerves. They say if you're really bad for nerves, not a doctor. Do not take this advice. If you're really bad with nerves, take vertigo medication.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, I've never tried it myself, but apparently it's brilliant. Gets rid of that adrenaline in the pit of your stomach.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've seen people do it, like, and I've never tried it myself, but like, yeah, apparently it works.
If it works, it works.
Once again, not a medical professional. I am a professor. No.
We'll just have that going as a little
Professor Rowan.
Oh my gosh. But I suppose you're getting into that routine, like just going back even to the warm up, and even if you implemented the breathing with it as well.
Yeah.
It's becoming like a habit.
Yeah, exactly. It switches your brain on and it gets you ready to, it gets you ready to push yourself. You
Nice.
know, and like obviously everyone usually warms up before tournaments, but I see people doing very, very random warm-ups or just rolling. And like obviously rolling before a match is good, like roll light and do all that stuff, but like for timing. But I think for mindset, I think warm-ups, breathing exercises, the same stretches every time, all those kind of things, it just becomes a routine, and you start to create almost like a safe feeling place in chaos.
Yeah.
You can kind of keep your cool in chaos,
Nice.
which really, really helps. Yeah.
I've seen actually a few competitions, like, when you're in the bullpen area and you're watching people are doing their warm-up.
Yeah.
I was at one recently enough, I'm not going to say where, and I saw this guy, and a white belt, first competition.
Yeah.
It's so clear.
Keys all over the place.
Yeah. And they were like doing kickboxing movements, and I was just watching, and I was like, he does realize this is jiu-jitsu. And I've heard, even like as I was standing there, I heard people even saying it, like, what's that person doing?
Is he going to knock me out?
Yeah, goes in and just
I better put my
away.
hands up if I go against this dude. I saw a funny meme of some guy doing that in a gi, just doing all the shadow boxing, and it's just like, just to remind everyone, this is just a side quest. I thought that was good.
And then goes in and pulls guard, completely psych everyone out.
Yeah, that would be good actually. I might do that next time. Black belt debut, start shadow boxing in the bullpen. First black belt to ever do it.
Oh damn! So you've made the switch to coaching.
Yeah, well,
you've
I
always
opened
been
a business.
coaching.
I opened a business. Yeah, so right now, I've just been coaching mostly.
How did you find that transition then?
It's good. Like it's kind of at first it's kind of hard. It's really hard because you don't have much time to train, which is obviously the reason I started jiu-jitsu business was because I love jiu-jitsu, and it's kind of a little bit lonely sometimes because you don't train with anyone who's your own level for a long time. There's not many people who are another brown belt or something. My advice to someone starting a gym is like start with a business partner that you trust, because then you'll have someone to train with. It's really good. But at first it's kind of like it's hard because you feel like you're not progressing, but you are, obviously, because you're teaching your techniques, so your techniques are getting better every single day. The amount of time I put in is insane. But so it's really difficult at first. The thing I found most difficult, obviously, was becoming an entrepreneur. Really, is like trying to deal with forms and stuff. But changing over to fully coaching is like you kind of get the dopamine and the serotonin from watching your students get better. And then like after a while, in about 6 months in, like I'm very, very lucky in this way, I think, because Rodrigo and Ryan came in, and they're just freaks of nature. So I have good sparring partners, like I can go 100% against Ryan or Rodrigo, and they don't mind in any way. Like any other 8-month white belt, they'll have a broken rib. Like I can put 100% strength, pressure, everything, and they'll just try and figure a way out of it, So at first, it's really, really lonely because you're honestly just teaching, and you're just a teacher, and you kind of go a bit mad. You really do. And then after a while, when your students start getting better, then more higher belts start joining your club, and then there's more people to train with. So now there's more purple belts and blue belts and stuff. So it's actually much nicer now. And I have more time and more money to be able to go train myself as well. So I can actually go to Galway and train, so I have time. But converting over to just coaching, have a business partner. Have an assistant coach who's similar level to you. That's my advice. It would make everything so easy.
Yeah, and I'd imagine it makes like going from not having someone there at your level, as you were saying, and you're rolling, you're probably thinking, I'm not, how can I get better if I have
exactly.
to do it?
Yeah. That's why I like situational sparring is good in that way, because you just give yourself, like you give the student like a body triangle and a sunken in rear naked choke, and then you're like, okay, here we go. It's like, I'll get out of this and start fighting, So like situational is good in that way. So you can kind of train with blue belts and get a very, very good round from them. But it is really difficult to stay focused on jiu-jitsu when you don't feel like you're improving yourself.
Yeah.
And not only improving yourself, because like obviously my techniques that I know have gotten 10 times better since coaching, clearly, because you go through them over and over again forever. And, literally just goes on forever. And, but when you don't learn new things, it gets really hard. It gets really kind of like, you're watching YouTube, you're watching freaking Instagram, and you're trying to learn new things. And it's not the same in any way, you don't you can't really, you can learn from videos, don't get me wrong. But I find if I have a video, I will generally download a video on something that I'd be strong at. So like a reverse de la Riva. I love reverse de la Riva. So I'd watch DVDs on reverse de la Riva because I understand the movement in reverse de la Riva very, very well. So therefore, when Danaher shows me 10 more things to do from reverse de la Riva, I understand how they work because I know the movements. But if it's something like, something you haven't done before or something pretty new and you're trying to learn it from a video,
it's tough.
It's very tough. Yeah, it has to be felt. It has to be felt. As Hickson said, jiu-jitsu has to be felt. And then he comes out with videos. Fair enough, man. He's fucking making bank.
One of the main reasons why I asked you to come on the podcast is when I met you in Galway, you were refereeing the same day as me. And whenever any of your students come on, I would switch in because you wanted to coach. But there was one of your students that just ran through his division. Yeah. And I was amazed with how quickly he was doing everything. Yeah. And I remember walking off the mat to let you sub in, and I was like, damn, well done. And you turned around and you said, we do the ecological approach. And I know it's the buzzword. People are always giving off about it online. And I'm not going to lie, I don't know too much about it. Yeah. And then when I was reaching out for guests, and I was like, I have to ask Rowan on, because he mentioned it. He obviously has a good understanding. So maybe
I'd say I have a relatively good understanding of it. So I use now the guy who popularized this. I'm not gonna steal his thunder. His name is Greg Souders. He basically says he doesn't drill whatsoever in his club. So that obviously when he said that, I was like, wait, what? How does that work? How do you teach someone to do a Imanari roll from not drilling? What the hell? So I was like, this guy's probably, I don't know, drilling secretly or, something like that, And so I started looking into it, and he says there's a lot of different things different systems he uses under the ecological kind of umbrella. Yeah. But the one I use in my gym is the constraint-based games. So that's the one that I've used the most. He has a load of other things that are very, very complicated and scientific sounding, and I'm not that kind of guy, but I'm more of a physical person. So I saw the games. I watched tons and tons of his classes. I saw the games he plays, and I was like, oh my God, these things are amazing. So what ecological training is a big umbrella term. So what constraint-based games are is it's a lot of people mistake them for situational sparring, and they are very, very similar to situational sparring, but they're much, much more specific. So basically, I think just giving an example of a game would be the best one. So let's say someone's lying down on their back supine, okay? And the other guy's standing up. What we call this is the connections game, okay? So the guy standing up's objective is to maintain shin on shin off to an angle, okay? So he has to get his shin on your shin, and he has to stand out to the angle so he's almost ready to pass. You know where he can kind of push the knee through and kind of start to pass. He has to maintain that for as long as he can. There's no win condition. The guy on bottom's win condition, and in the now we have a few different phases to games, right? So the first phase of the connections game is the guy on bottom's win condition is to get 4 connections. So he has to get 4 grips in any way he can. So 2 hooks, 2 grips. Yeah. He could get 2 wrists and a butterfly guard. That's fine, whatever. The other thing is obviously for this game, the guy on top can't put his knees on the floor. So he's passing standing. We're doing a standing versus supine versus standing basically situation here. So then basically once he gets the 4 connections, he has to hold them for a certain amount of time, and then he lets go and they switch over. So then with the second stage of the game, he has to get 4 connections, and then he has to put their butt on the floor, or he has to put their hands on the ground for 10 seconds. Okay. So it teaches you the mechanics. What this game basically gets people doing is it teaches them the mechanics of X guard, de la Riva, open guard, pretty much everything to do with supine guard, like, you know?
Yeah.
And what the guy on top gets very good at is moving around the legs, moving around the guard, and cutting the angle, you know?
Yeah.
So then, like, that would be like the standing passing game we play, you know? Then, like, there's other games where, like, side control, I was talking about it earlier. You know, you need to get a figure four grip, Kimura or Americana, or you need to slide your knee over to mount and isolate his arm and his head in a kind of pre-arm triangle situation. And what the guy on bottom has to do is just get his legs in front of the guy. You know, he has to get his legs between you and your opponent. So it's basically just a guard recovery in the most simple term ever, you know. But you see, the power that I found with ecological training is mostly, well, not ecological training, in constraint-based games, is mostly the ability to explain jiu-jitsu to children and to beginners. So like it gives you such a good understanding of every single position. Because like as soon as a kid in my class gets a seatbelt, right? I just shout, seatbelt game. And they're playing the seatbelt game.
Yeah.
And what the seatbelt game is you just have to put your two hooks over while you have your seatbelt. You know, the other guy's just trying to stop and face you. You know, so you start on your knees behind him. You have your seatbelt. You have to put your two legs over his. He has to get up. That's the whole game, you know?
You're just simplifying the whole process.
Oh, yeah, just tiny little process of jiu-jitsu. And then what happens over time is you get a game for every single situation, and then you start putting them together, you know? And then they start getting to bigger strings of movements, you know? And then eventually it's just rolling, you know?
Nice.
So it's really cool. Like, and he says there's a lot more to ecological training, which I'm sure there is. But for the constraint-based games part of it, like it's invaluable for beginners, man. It's so good. I think I think every gym should try it at least a bit just to warm up and see how they get on, because like it's amazing. With the now, obviously, I wouldn't be as good at this system as Greg Souders. So I obviously drill complex moves with my students. Like I don't know how to get them to intuit doing an armbar, you know? I just don't understand how that works yet. I think I'd need to read about 10,000 more hours of Greg Souders literature before I get that, you know? But apparently there's a way. You know, and you know, people love to kind of say, oh, the ecological approach is all funny and stuff, but like, sure, the dude had a student win an ADCC trials in 4 years.
Crazy.
4 years into jiu-jitsu. He won ADCC East Coast trials.
And everyone has their own way of learning as
well.
Yeah,
like. 100%, yeah.
So you're gamifying, well, the constraint-based games is you're gamifying the whole process.
Yeah, literally,
so
yeah.
Basically like Crash Bandicoot. You know, you're reaching your checkpoints and then you're ready to go to the next
Yeah, exactly, yeah. You just build it up, you know?
Yeah.
It's like another good one is like, you know, get a seatbelt, they're in turtle, and you have to stay behind them. You can't use your hooks up.
No.
You know, you just have to use your seatbelt. It creates one of the best back-taking abilities I've ever seen in students. Because if you've only got a seatbelt and someone starts rolling, you got to jump and roll with them.
Yeah.
You know, you can't put your hooks in and connect to them.
Yeah.
You got to roll behind them the whole time, right?
And keep going.
So that means you're just an amazing back taker after a while when you get good at that game. You know, and then you add that to the seatbelt game. And then you've got your hooks, you know?
Yeah.
You know, so it's just like it's really cool. And I think it gets a bad press because I think a lot of people misunderstand it maybe.
Yeah.
And he comes out with a lot of controversial things saying, you know, side control doesn't exist and freaking, you know, drilling doesn't work and all this stuff. And I'm just like, well, it does, but you know, it's like, it does work. Like that's how I got a black belt, but you know, but no, there is a massive amount of strength in the ecological process, really. Like, I am going to look more into it as well. And I'm definitely going to see how he teaches complex submissions to students without drilling. I would really love to know that. Because for now, it's just like all finishing mechanics, all submissions are still drilled.
Yeah.
You know, they're like because, you know, like there's a lot of secrets to finishing submissions that you wouldn't think about, would you? You know, if you say, oh, you got to hyperextend his elbow, you know, isolate the arm and hyperextend his elbow, they're not going to think of like turning the thumb the right way. They're not going to think of squeezing their knee. You know, there's going to be a load of different things that little details that you will have to show them, you know. But I think that's probably one of the things that people misunderstand about the constraint-based games thing is like within the rules of the game, we explain how to get a Kimura grip, how to get an Americana, how to get, you know, so you learn how to get the grips, You just don't learn it as a set of moves.
Yeah.
You know, you learn it as a set of objectives rather, you know.
And with the constraint-based games, are you basing your whole class around this, or are you still doing like a mixture of like the traditional setup, the warm-up, your drilling,
Yeah.
and then breaking it down? Or how do you structure your classes?
So the way I'd usually structure my classes, it depends on the class sometimes, but like now, beginners classes and fundamental classes would be much more on the constraint-based game side of things.
Yeah.
And kids classes would be a lot on the constraint-based game side of things. We do a lot of the constraint-based games in the open mats and stuff, but we use them, I'd say about like 20% of our training is probably constraint-based games. And then the rest, so like a normal class would start, fundamentals classes would have the basic warm-up, which is, you know, learning to shrimp, you know, what all the beginners need to learn, forward rolls, break falls, all these things. Obviously, we have that in the fundamentals classes. We don't waste our times with that in the advanced classes, obviously, because no one wants to do shrimps down the mat when they're a purple belt, do they? They want to do like drills and stuff to warm up. So like for the warm-ups then I usually use, because, you know, no one's warmed up, we usually use drilling or procedural learning, you know, like as in like a sequence, and then they'll all repeat the sequence for 3 minutes and then switch, 3 minutes and then switch. So that would be like, you know, about half an hour. And then we would go into, then would be the time for the constraint-based games. Any constraint-based games that are relevant for what we've just drilled would then go into that period. So like, you know, if we drilled rear naked chokes, we'd have the seatbelt game and the turtle game, you know, following the back, taking the back, and then you've got the chokes done, drilled beforehand. And then we move on to situational sparring. So that's much more free form again. So once again, we'd start in the position we were drilling. Yeah. And then after that, it's kind of just open rounds, you know. So it's kind of, I think it's average enough the way we train. We just add that constraint-based games in as well, which, yeah, is once again, it's like freaking Superman for beginners, man. It is literally amazing.
It's a nice breakdown of how to do the class, and it gets people thinking a lot more, because sometimes when you're doing a class, or if you're visiting another gym and you're doing their routine, and it feels so static, and you're like, man, where are we going with this? So it breaks things up.
Yeah, and also like my classes are always, you know, different, because I teach all the time, so I can't just do the same class over and over again forever, you know. So it's always going to be very specific on a subject. And then we will, obviously, in jiu-jitsu learning, you always repeat things for months on end, clearly. But I mean, I would, like the last 2 months, I've been doing half butterfly guard, you know, into X guard, into leg locks and things like this. So like we would do everything within that situation, you know, passing it, attacking from it, you know, everything, you know. But I do break the classes up into the way they're set up. So like because I found like, I used to find it really hard to go to a competition and just get in and roll. So sometimes unpredictably I'll have the rolling at first, you know, so we'll warm up, stretch, and then roll, and then drill, and then do games or whatever. So I always keep it just completely weird, completely unpredictable, you know, because it makes me understand that it's a different day, and it keeps my students very adaptable, you know. They can kind of just jump in and roll straight away, you know. Nice.
And how has your coaching evolved since starting?
I'm not so shit anymore. No. But you know, like, because I started coaching way too early on, you know, I like, there was like a freaking purple belt was the highest belt, you know. So like I was teaching beginners classes when I was a blue belt, like, you know, and I was a very technical blue belt, of course. I understood and I was very good at explaining things, but still, like, if I think back, you know, I shouldn't have been teaching. I shouldn't have been teaching then, you know. I really shouldn't. I didn't understand things well enough. So my coaching has evolved massively since coaching full time, and I think it's because I like never ever stopping doing jiu-jitsu really gives you a really, really good understanding of how everything connects. Yeah. So that's the main thing that's evolved since I've started coaching, is my jiu-jitsu just fits together now. It's like it's just fits together beautifully. You know, there is no, I don't just like learn a submission and I'm like, oh, that submission, I'm going to try and do that submission. No, I learn a whole position. So, and I teach a whole position, so there's like every option that can happen in that position that I know of. And then I go to my coach and I say, what other options can happen in this position? And he gives me all the other ones. And, so it's just like, my coaching's become far more thorough and far more intelligent. Before I was, before I was always good, but I just didn't have enough skills, I didn't understand enough,
Yeah. And I think it's the type of thing that once you're longer in a role, or even in like you're training yourself, you're seeing all these different new pathways.
Yeah.
And you're learning how to connect them so that your game is getting interweaved.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just all together now.
Yeah.
What was it? Like my first coach used to say, when you learn a move, it's 4 steps, and then it's 3, then it's 2, then it's 1, and then there's no steps.
There's no move.
As Bruce Lee would say, when he sees the opportunity, it hits all by itself. I love that quote.
It's a good quote, though.
Yeah.
And it's just like when we were even saying before the podcast, we were going on about toe holds. And we were saying about the Craig Jones style one.
My toe hold, Craig, that nobody cares.
But before that, when you'd get into those positions, you'd be like, right, I have to hit A, B, C, and then I can go for it. And then you see Craig is like, nope, I'm going straight to A. And then
exactly. Yeah. So it hits all by itself, Yeah.
So, and I'd say coaching is like that as well. You know that once you get like the beginner students, you have to kind of like guide them through the process.
Yeah.
But then with the advanced students and the higher level belts, you're kind of like, okay, this is the technique.
Yeah.
How do you differentiate it for beginners and then the advanced people?
Okay, so with advanced people, like beginners, if I was showing them an armbar, let's say, I would show them step by step. Here's how you do an armbar. You get the grip, you cut the angle, whatever. For more advanced people, I would give them I'd show them an armbar, obviously, and it would be the same armbar, but I would give them counters to every single thing that the person's going to do. So, so if they bring their arm down here, or if they bring their arm over to the other side, or whatever, like any kind of situation that usually happens, I'll go through that with the advanced people so that when they're drilling, they can react realistically so the person who's not drilling can react realistically and give them the cues that someone defending the position will give them. So, obviously it's not competitive, but they will give them the cues of suppose he's in a triangle, he's got his feet crossed together, he's going to put his arm down here. Now you're omoplataing him, so it's just these cues that he defends the triangle by grabbing his arm, and then he'll get omoplated, and then he defends the omoplata by posturing up, and then they go back to the triangle, things that just basic things like this. So it'll always be 10 different, a good few different reactions and situations off those reactions,
Yeah.
And then with beginners, I find it a lot of people try and teach beginners that way. And people used to try and teach me that way. And I was just I would phase out in the first 30 seconds. I'm like, okay, so step 1, step 2, step 3, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm out. So with beginners, I try and keep it to an extent. In a sequence in a beginner's class, I would teach them here's a single leg takedown, and you should end with your hands in their shins standing above them. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what we do when our hands are on their shins, we'll leg drag. We'll finish the leg drag. So then, we go to the bow and arrow choke, let's say, from the leg drag, but it would be a sequence broken down into 5 or 6 tiny pieces, because then they have 2 steps, 3 steps, and they'll learn that, they'll actually be able to put that into their muscle memory.
Yeah, and then with the higher level guys, you're just giving them that extra pieces to build on.
Giving them all the reactions then, so then they can choose a reaction to drill, and then they'll go, they'll go triangle, counter with an armbar, counter with an omoplata, whatever, Yeah.
How do you continue to develop and improve your own coaching style? Is it through a trial and error process?
Yeah, so kind of obviously to some extent trial and error, and then a lot of it's research as well. So I would every time I visit a gym, the thing I'm looking at is I'm not looking at their techniques usually. I'm looking at how the coach delivers the techniques. That's what I find the most interesting, because if I understand, because I've always found learning jiu-jitsu really hard at first. So if I understood and remembered how the coach taught the move, I would then be able to repeat his words in my head and do the move,
Yeah.
So it's a very weird way of learning, but that's how I learned, and it taught me to teach really well. So what I generally do is I kind of I used to, like, I would visit like Gracie Barra and different things like this. And, you know, they've given me a load of different ways of drilling and a load of like that breaking down method. I saw that first in Gracie Barra, like, and I was like, okay, that's amazing, you know, and
stealing.
yeah, I was a purple belt. I was like, that is great. Like, you know, that's absolutely amazing. But, then like a lot of it, I would watch a lot of John Danaher. Like, it's like a comfort zone. It's like a podcast for me. Like, he's just talking in my ear. And the way he teaches things and gets people to remember things is through like slogans almost, you know? Like, he gets you to learn like double trouble, or, you know, like if both your legs are controlled, you know, you're in double the amount of trouble. Like, you know, it's quite simple. And, or like, you know, the law of, he has these things like the law of feet and knees. You know, if your knees and feet aren't pointing at your opponent, he's going to pass in about a second. You know, so you have to face him again. Like, you know, it's just these really simple things, but what they do is they kind of they stick in your head for when you need them. You know, so you're like, oh, he's got both my legs, double trouble. Fuck, let's get out of here. You know, And that seems really simple, obviously, but like, I think when you put those slogans to kind of like every situation in jiu-jitsu, then you have a quicker reaction to knowing what's going on. You know, you have these set of criteria that you're like, you know, this criteria equals very, very bad. He's threatening my hip line. I'm trying to hold guard. He's at my shoulder line. Okay, I'm in real trouble. You know, whereas if, okay, he's below my foot line, I'm good. You know, I'm in guard. I'm playing guard, you know? So like, another really good one is like the lines he teaches, like, so you have foot line, knee line, hip line, shoulder line, and then midline. Yeah. And, you know, you have to have your midline pointing at him the whole time. You can't let his feet cross your hip line, because then he's about to pass. God forbid, let him near your shoulder line, you know, because he's about to take your back or get north-south, you know, and he has a set of moves that are relevant for these situations. So like, you know, he has a diagram of like the human body and the lines. Yeah. And then, you know, he has a set of guard recovery moves for if he's past your knee line, if he's past your hip line, if he's past your shoulder line, you know. So it's really cool. It's like different levels of threat, you know, and create different reactions, you know.
Nice. So you were able to base your own coaching style off like elements of John,
elements of Hugo, elements of Michelle, elements of Ben Davis. Yeah, everywhere I've trained, I always kind of just take things in, you know. Anything I like, I try to use and keep, you know. If it doesn't work, then I throw it away again. But like, you know, it's like I'm always doing that, you know. Like, that's why I found the ecological thing so interesting. Because when some guy comes out and says, oh, site control doesn't exist, I'm just like, what? Why? Why doesn't it exist? What do you mean? What do you know that I don't know?
Oh boy, we're going down this rabbit hole.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. 19 hours later, I would know everything about ecological training.
It's a curious mind, really, just constantly evolving. And you've opened this gym back in 2023?
So I originally opened the gym down the road in, I think it was 2023, yeah. And then I opened this location because I had a business partner back then, but we didn't work together well, so we kind of parted ways. Yeah. But I opened this location then on my own on the 10th of January 2024. Yeah, so it's been about a year, just over a year now.
Nice. Yeah. And well, all the students that you have coming in and doing competitions, and even just those that don't want to compete. Yeah. For you personally, what does success as a coach look like?
So basically, seeing people get the same bonuses as I got. So like, I just love to see it when like some guy comes in, he's maybe a little out of shape or something, and he doesn't seem the most confident. He's not speaking loudly. He's not, you know, he's talking to you one-on-one. He doesn't want to raise his voice over the room or in any way, you know. And then 6 months later, he's a different person. He's literally like, he's loud, he's outgoing, he's strong, you know, all these things. I just love watching people develop. You know, I don't care if they're a world champion or someone who does it twice a week. If jiu-jitsu changes them in the way it changed me, I'm doing my job right, you know. And that means like, and the other thing I find that my students, they all seem to develop a real great love for jiu-jitsu. So that is probably one of my strongest points as a coach, is because I really love coaching and I really love doing what I do. So it goes through to them. and then they're all the same way as me, you know, just completely obsessed. It's really cool.
Oh, nice. And what advice would you give someone who is starting out as a coach, besides having a business partner?
Yeah. Starting out as a coach. So a big mistake that I did when I first started was I used to try and teach moves that I didn't use. You know, I tried to teach moves that I knew very well, but I didn't use competitively. And that is one of the biggest mistakes you can do, because you can learn a move on a video and you can be like, okay, I've got all the steps to this move and I can do it in drilling. You probably won't hit it in rolling, okay? Unless it's a move that fits in with your own jiu-jitsu game.
Yeah.
You know. But so like basically when you're going to like as a new coach, I would say teach your A game all the time. Teach what you're best at all the time. Sometimes there's body types that won't be good at what you're good at. So obviously with them, you'll have to make some adjustments and say, you know, oh, maybe you're stocky and really strong. Let's go half guard for you, you know, instead of full guard, you know, these kind of things. Yeah. But other than that, I would say just teach what you're very best at, because because that's what you have the most to offer. You know, like if I taught, I'm trying to think of a guard that I don't know. If I taught worm guard, let's say, I don't have much to offer there, because I haven't trained with Keenan. I haven't used, well, that's a lie actually, I got a worm guard triangle once in a competition, but I haven't used it that effectively yet. Whoa. But I haven't used it that effectively, and I don't know many sweeps from it. I don't know all the details. I don't know the reactions that the dude will give you. Yeah. Or, you know, all these kind of things. So like if I was teaching that, I would have not that much to say about it, you know? But if I'm teaching a leg drag pass, I can teach that for 4 hours, you know? Yeah. You know, like I can keep giving you more details for hours on end, you know. I you know, anything I use, I can just like, sometimes he does this, sometimes he does that, sometimes I do this, sometimes, you know, it's just like everything can happen. So I think, yeah, the best thing for new coaches, especially if you're starting out as like a purple or brown belt as a coach, just teach your A game. That your students will become much, much better, and do constraint-based games.
Okay. Yeah, because it's something that I'm a purple belt now. Yeah. And I do see myself in the future wanting to coach people. Yeah. So like I'm taking this advice.
My advice is start now.
Start now.
Yeah, start now. Okay. Yeah, because it is a skill and you will develop it. It takes a bit of time to develop, but it will not only make you a good coach, it will make you far better at jiu-jitsu. You know, you will understand your own game of jiu-jitsu 10 times more than you did before. Because, you know, if you can teach it to a 10-year-old man, you know that move. You know that move. Like, you know, if you can teach it to a 10-year-old with ADHD, wow, you know that move. You know?
Perfect. I'll start teaching my niece. She's like 11. She'll be 12 next month.
Savage, yeah.
She'll be great at De La Hiva, wrist locks, and toe holds.
That's exactly what you should learn at first. Take that from me. Fundamental jiu-jitsu, the way the Gracies would have liked it.
Well, either that or I'm going to get severely judged, but one or the other, it'll be all right. It'll be all right.
I think they know we're joking.
Okay, I'll look into starting coaching.
Yeah, man,
I'll grab a few of the little white belts. And
yeah,
be like,
man, sure. Offer PTs for fuck all money, bro. That's the best way. No, honestly, because people won't listen to you unless you charge them.
True.
Yeah, they won't. Like, to offer PTs for cheap, and the people will get a lot out of it, and you will get to be a really good coach by the time you're a black belt, you know, which is amazing.
You heard that? Yeah. Reach out for PTs, everyone. So I have a reoccurring question that I always ask everyone, and I really like hearing everyone's opinion on this. Yeah. But where do you see the future of jiu-jitsu going?
So, the future of jiu-jitsu is really exciting, bro. Since my wife has always told me this, that it's going to be huge. And I was like, you know, maybe not. Unfortunately, she is always right. But I saw the evidence of this when Craig Jones started the first ever, and I would call it the first ever professional jiu-jitsu tournament, because other than the ones that pay you to show up, you know, that's the first ever proper high level class A jiu-jitsu tournament, you know, and I think that is the future of jiu-jitsu. I think a lot more people are going to be getting into it as time goes on, and then eventually I think what's going to happen is influencers are going to start getting into it. And then hopefully, come on, Jake, hopefully they start settling their disputes in jiu-jitsu matches. And then we'll all be making tons of money. That's my far-flung theory for the future of jiu-jitsu. It probably won't happen, but I'm hoping it will. I hear Jake's an NCAA wrestler in some way, isn't he?
Yeah. It'd be so satisfying to heel hook him. Or toe hold.
Yeah,
toe hold.
He would. To be honest, I have massive respect for the dude because he revitalized boxing. You know, he kind of brought it back to the young people, which I think is really cool. You know, because like boxing was becoming more and more like a kind of people who practiced it watched it, and people casuals wouldn't as much.
Yeah.
And I think Jake really did save boxing. You know, so as much as boxing hates him, I think he really did save boxing.
It's true,
controversial opinion.
But people are tuning in just to see, will he get knocked out?
Exactly, yeah. Everyone wants to see him hurt, you know. It's you know, it is like it all counts, like, you know.
Yeah.
You know, they're still tuning in, like, you know.
They're still buying the pay-per-view or
100%,
or wherever they're getting their illegal
or
streams.
Netflix or illegal streams.
Yeah.
I was gonna plug an illegal stream there, but I'm not.
Yeah. And then it'd be great to see, like, imagine actually influencers coming in to try it.
Oh man, that would be amazing. With proper followings, can you imagine? Like, that would be because like if you think about the effect Mark Zuckerberg had by starting jiu-jitsu, a lot of people who come into my gym who are like graphic designers, software engineers, these kind of people who would hear what Mark Zuckerberg has to say.
Yeah.
They come in and say, oh, I'm coming here because it's good for your mental health, and Mark Zuckerberg did it. And I'm just like, okay, that's amazing. Thank you, Mark. Power to you, bro. So yeah, I think the more famous people who start doing it, the more it's going to get a massive, massive audience. Because like, and they say, you know, it's not a very good spectator sport. My argument would be there's only one good spectator sport on earth, and that's MMA. And everything else is like, you have to be into the sport to enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, you have to like football to enjoy watching football. If I watch football, I'm just like, what is this? You know, you have to be into it. So like, it is only a matter of time, I think. You know, it will integrate into the culture. You know, because it's becoming global, so it's going to integrate into the culture, and then more and more famous people will do it. And then when more and more famous people do it, they realize how good it is for you. And then when they realize how good it is for you, more and more people see the benefits, you know. So I think jiu-jitsu will be very, very prominent for a very long time, or at least grappling, you know, at least like no-gi grappling will be very, very prominent for a long time. Hopefully the gi comes back too, but you know, it's not looking that way right now. Although the crown is pretty cool.
That is
very cool. Yeah. The crown is awesome.
So we could try and get influencers or celebrities in a crown style where they take on the everyday people.
Exactly, yeah. Or just each other, you know? Just like in Karate Combat, you know? You know? Just watch terrible white belt jiu-jitsu just hit off each other, you know, for millions of dollars.
I put my name down, my first opponent's Tom Hardy, and be like, nope, I'm losing that match.
It's like, oh, Bane? Seriously?
Well, we all know how that's going to end. He's going to break my back.
Legit too. He looks very good.
I trained with him.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh,
I went over to Hodger Gracie's for a Tom the Blast seminar, and I was sitting on the mat, and I remember clear as day, like this is 2-3 years ago, I was sitting there, and I looked over to my right, and I looked back, and then I was like, that's Tom Hardy. And then I was like, that's not Tom Hardy. And then I was like, that is Tom Hardy. And then I walked over after the class, got a photo with him.
That's amazing.
And
man, yeah.
I was just like, I can't believe I trained
How's
with
his
Tom.
jiu-jitsu? Like, it looks good. Like, he's very good.
Yeah, he was good.
Where does he train? Like, what is it?
Reorg, is it the Navy
that
SEALs?
Military one. Yeah, savage. Yeah.
But just watching him doing all the techniques, and then he didn't roll with everyone in class because there was nearly 100 people there.
Yeah,
and you could see him
with
working with like a selected group, and you're just like, he's legit.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And there's that video of him in Russia with the Russian wrestlers, and he's just like going 100%.
Yeah,
like,
I haven't seen that actually.
I'll send it after.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, that sounds cool.
But you're just watching it, and you're like, okay, he's actually doing it. And then there's footage of him doing the competitions, signing in as a different name, and then turning up and breaking people's arms. You're like,
savage, man. Yeah, I'd love to roll with him. It'd be good.
You never know if he's around, or if he watches the podcast. Probably not. But.
Yeah, come down to Loughrea, bro. We have a lake. It's pretty nice.
And with the popularity of the sport constantly growing, you've probably seen more and more people starting over the last few years.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, when I started, it was mostly MMA guys who wanted to get good at jiu-jitsu just to do MMA, and Brazilians who knew what jiu-jitsu was already.
Yeah.
So it was basically the only jiu-jitsu guys were Brazilians. Now it's like flipped completely over. Like, we have probably, like, I don't know how many students now, but like, there's people from everywhere. There's people literally from all over the world. It's really cool. Yeah, New Zealand, Ireland, Europe, Brazil, America, everywhere. So it's gone truly global. So yeah, I think and the knowledge of it as well, because like when it first started, everyone's minds were kind of in the gutter. Or I was probably 20, so my friends were 20, so our minds were in the gutter. But they would all kind of find it funny. You're rolling around on the floor with other dudes, like,
Yeah.
And
The
now,
same jokes.
Now there is still those people. Obviously, keep jiu-jitsu gay and all that. But like now, far more people go in and they know what to expect.
Yeah.
So far more people come in and it's like a boxing class. They're like, okay, we're doing jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is the thing where you take people down and you pin them. So that everyone knows what it is. Before, I would have to describe. Like, I remember I had a guy coming in thinking we were going to do Tai Chi when I first started. Like, and I was like, what? And he was like, aren't we going to do like movements and stuff? And I was like, well, yeah, the movements are the double leg and the single leg, bro. Like, that's what we're doing for this class. Like, and he was like so shocked. Like,
it's going to mess up your chi.
yeah. It's chi's not going to stop this. Sprawls, stop this.
And I'd imagine when people are coming in, signing up for maybe the beginner's course, they have like 1,000,001 questions.
Yes.
But what advice would you give someone who's starting their jiu-jitsu journey today that knows nothing about it?
So I think the main one, the first one probably number one is like the competitiveness thing. So like I always try and explain to my students that even though it feels competitive, this is not competitive. Okay, you're trying to strangle each other, yes, but this isn't competitive. You're going 100% and you're trying to beat each other at a game, but I'm still trying to explain to them that you should try the moves, even if you feel like you're going to lose. Like even if you go for an armbar, you get your guard passed. Go for the armbar anyway. It's like the biggest thing is just try and stop people trying to play safe. So like I find a lot of people when they start, they want to win rounds, and it's like, you don't know anything to win a round yet.
Yeah.
You don't worry about it, just like try and get to mount and stay there, that kind of thing. And then the other thing is like, like the taking notes. Taking notes is amazing. I always encourage my students to film any of the classes they can, or write things down after the classes. I always try and tell them to write as many things as they can remember after the classes when they get home. So yeah, I think not being too competitive and taking notes all the time would be a massive bonus to starting to do jiu-jitsu. What was the other one? There's plenty, to be honest, but there's a few different things that pitfalls people fall into. Yeah, training, the amount you train and weights. You need to do weights 2 times a week, and when you start, you should train no more than 2 or 3 times. So like you should, like if you go from 0 to jiu-jitsu, you should be doing like weights twice a week, and I mean piss easy weights. I mean like weights you can do 20 reps of, those kind of weights.
Yeah.
And just wait. Where was I going? Catch me up again.
Gradually build it up.
Oh yeah. Sorry, yeah. The amount of times you train. So basically, with a lot of people, they start training far too much because they get really into it.
Yeah.
So I always try and keep them when they're starting down to like 2 to 3 classes, and then once or twice of weights a week, and also then the last thing as well, stretching. Yes. Stretching is king. I don't do enough of it myself, but I always give the people the advice to stretch all the time, get a yoga routine going or something,
Yeah, no, it's needed, especially like some of the positions you're in, if you have no flexibility or mobility in certain areas.
I remember I was refereeing a match the last day, and a guy got caught in the electric chair, and I heard the sound of bones and kneecaps and just... And he had just turned the wrong way. He tried to get back on top when he got swept.
Yeah.
And he turned his knee, and the knee was isolated. And I was just like, yeah, stretching is king. Stretching is king, because that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't in a dangerous situation technically, and he could have turned that way if he was flexible. You know, he could have turned that way if he was flexible, but yeah, that was grim. So yeah, stretching, weights, and not overdoing it. You know, not overdoing it. Like if you want to add more training, you know, do 2 times a week for the first month, and then 3 times a week for the second month, and then, you know, 4 times a week for the third month, and you'll actually get the benefits, and you won't find it too hard. You know, it'll slowly build up that you won't have this, you know, on the weekend I can't move because there's lactic acid in all my muscles. You know, you'll have that a bit, but like if you build it up slowly, you won't notice yourself getting so fit. You know, you won't notice the steep hill you're running up. You know, you can run up it slower. You know. Yeah.
Solid advice, man. Solid advice. And the last question I have for you today is, if anyone wanted to reach out, come to train with you, maybe they want to follow you online, what's the best places, and have you anything coming up that you'd like to talk about?
So where to find me is you can find our gym, Monarch BJJ, on Instagram. You can find our website, monarchjiujitsu.com. And then my name on Instagram as well is Rowan, I think it's Rowan.Lovett, Lovett. And where else? Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, really. And the things I have coming up. So in my gym, we offer K1, mixed martial arts, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, gi and no gi, obviously. And what we have coming up soon, it's going to start at 7:30 on Mondays, is going to be a women's Jiu-Jitsu self-defense class. So as we don't have too many female members, and I wanted a kind of entry point for females to actually start training jiu-jitsu without just having to jump into a room full of lads. So we'll have that starting. I think it's going to start on around about International Women's Day, so 8th of March probably. And so we'll have women's classes coming up 7:30 p.m. Mondays. And yeah, other than that, I think that's about it, really.
Nice one.
Thank you so much for coming, bros.
No problem, man. Thank you. I'll make sure to include all this information in the show notes. And if you've enjoyed this episode of the podcast and you're listening to the audio version, I'd greatly appreciate if you'd leave us a 5-star review on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And if you're watching the video version, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And once again, man, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, Aaron, man. Have a good one, guys.